Hey people, Mike Martin's here with the Mike Martin's channel. Thanks for joining, liking, subscribing. Okay, guys, I need to throw out a really important question out there, and it's something that we've addressed quite a few times on the channel, but this one is a very specific because it gets to the point. There was a comment that was left there on one of the videos that I made a few days back, and let's take a look at what's going on here because it's kind of important. You're damned if they do, and you're damned if they don't. So, what's the answer? So, it's a video I made the other day that food riots, prepare food now, food insecurity, it's something we've been talking about for ages now. But that's not it's the comment that Fly Guy left here. So, Fly Guy says, rates cannot raise to the inflation rate without economic disaster, and the feds know this. Okay, so adjusting rates to in line with obviously inflation will be an economic disaster, and the feds know this, and we know they know this. Okay, they are stuck. The only solution is to let inflation run its course. Now, that's the question that they were asking us a few years back. So, what are we talking about? Well, let's take a look at this, and you're going to be very astonished to see what we find. Well, what we've been talking about for the last 10 years. So that's not important. That's irrelevant. That's a few months ago. We know that they were going to raise rates a few months ago. Let's go into something like right here. Emergency rate cut in Canada. Say hello to inflation. Say goodbye to savings. And that was 2 years ago. And this is, the date on this is very interesting. It's because of the you-know-what. Now, rate hike takes nation by surprise. Canadians wake up to a rude awakening to understand inflation. 4 years ago. Canadians looking for answers from Bank of Canada after rate hike takes nation by surprise. Now, they did raise rates 5 years ago. That video is 4, but it's actually 5 years ago. They did started raising rates to adjust against or curb against inflation. They did, because they knew there was this massive economic perfect storm that was going to come and devour us. Our savings will be destroyed. Our pensions will be destroyed. Everything that we've worked for or worked towards is gone. It's garbage. It's no, I mean inside your soul. But I'm talking about everything on paper is garbage, is what it is. So there it is right there. Now watch this. Then they start. Watch this. Small rate hike. We need this. We need to curb inflation or else we will starve. 4 years ago. So this rate hike that we were seeing was happening in America and other countries. Now look at this. Then you go to 2 years ago. So this is from 4 or 5 years ago where they were raising rates. The Great Australian Rate Cut Conspiracy to get more Australians in the failing housing market. So there it is. And watch this one. Bank lowers rates to support ailing housing market. There's the proof right there. Now watch this. Watch this. Right there. RBC cuts 5-year fixed mortgage rate and other banks expect to follow. The date's not on, but the date is published here in 2019 before the you-know-what. So they're cutting rates after they just raised rates. Why? Because it all ties back to housing. So bank lowers rates to support ailing housing market, get first-time home buyers in, forget inflation. So they're not looking at inflation and they're not looking at the people. So you are damned if you saved, and then you're damned if you buy. Now take a look at this. Bank of Canada cuts rates by 0.5 point. This will lead to massive economic destruction. So there it is right there. And then this is from 2 months ago. That's irrelevant right now. But it's what we talked about, rate hikes and why they are important. So I even did a breakdown of a 3-minute video explaining why rate hikes and going into inflation, hyperinflation. And so there it is. New interest rates. Look, a year ago. So they kept lowering rates. 0.99% new rates to save the day, and basically never in the history of Canada. So advertised mortgage rate with a 0 to the left of the decimal point. So there it is right there. And I really, really wanted to throw this out there for you guys because they were doing this in basically to save a failing housing market. Because, of course, Canada would be in a recession without money laundering 2019. So Canada was binging on its housing market to build its economy up. I've made hundreds, if not thousands, of videos discussing and exposing this. The hundreds of billions of dollars by province, and the Canadian federal government shut down the money laundering investigation. Not once, but 2 times. Because they feel it's not necessary. That middle-class Canadians, middle-class Australians, middle-class Americans, middle-class people that built this infrastructure are no longer deemed necessary if our savings or what we work for or what we built forward for our families don't matter, because it's all a criminal enterprise. There it is right there, and most of the money is coming from mainland China. That's basically destroying the affordability levels in these countries in the Commonwealth. So if you're new to the channel, I advise you guys to go to the channel time machine here across the channel, type in money laundering, and you will see why we're in this position to cater to criminals. So Canada's GDP needs more money laundering. Australian money laundering fiasco. Vancouver is a money laundering hotspot. And we go into years. Colleges connected to money laundering. A world needs more money laundering. Underground banks laundering money. How to guide how to destroy your country's middle class 4 years ago. So it keeps going on and on and on. And money laundering by foreigners destroying housing affordability. Here's the problem. Canadian cities rate highly among the most desirable in the world, but also the most unaffordable. Vancouver took the top spot for affordability in 2017. Don't want to go way too off topic, but the reason why we're in this mess is through criminal governments and criminal enterprise that built the foundation of the problem we are sitting at right now. And why our food's getting expensive, and why everything's getting expensive, and why the cost of living is going to be out of reach for all middle-class Canadians in the next 1 to 2 years. All blue states, Americans living in blue states. America's so lucky. They have no idea how lucky Americans are. They have more cities in the state of Texas than we do in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand in combination. Probably Ireland and Scotland too, in combination. They have more. Well, Mike, I don't have cities. They got 5 cities in technology. No, in Canada, if you have 2,000 people living in a city in Canada, where I live, you have 2,000 people. That's a city. So if you want to go off Canadian standards, like 2,000 plus people per village or whatever region or whatever they want to call it, then yeah. So Texas has way more than all of us, and infrastructure and highways with all the countries combined together, just in Texas. So Americans still have that American dream they could go to if they don't mind moving, right? In Canada, Ontarians, people from Ontario are fleeing the province of Ontario. And this has been happening, mass exodus, brain drains, been happening for a long time. Now, let's go back to what I asked at the beginning of the video. Do they raise interest rates to help curb inflation, and do they restructure or restart the economy? They did it back in the early 80s to save the economy, if you guys remember, during the Reagan administration. Now, are they going to do that again? Are they going to, start moving things forward to save whatever we could salvage from the people that did save, the people that did the right things, that didn't get into a house they couldn't afford to buy, that didn't over leverage themselves? Do we fix that? Or do they start cutting rates again after they raised them? Back 5 years ago, they raised rates. Guess what? They ended up cutting them back because they couldn't get people into the housing markets. And it's all tied to housing in the end. It's all tied to massive criminal enterprise. Oh, Mike, you're just saying that because you own your house. I'm getting taxed to death. I paid $4,300 for property tax in a city, they call it a city, of 7,000 people. That's what they say. With 2 stoplights. Yes. 2 stoplights. So I wanted to make that very clear. That's our infrastructure. And we have a 1/4 mile of a road that's 2 lanes up and 2 lanes down, and the rest is 1 lane up, 1 lane down. There's 2 stoplights. So picture that in your head. Anyways, guys, I wanted to put this out there because it's very important, and if they don't raise interest rates, we're going to start to see the early stages of hyperinflation by January of 2023. You will start to see hyperinflation, where basically you'll see the Great Canadian Peso. That's something we talked about on the channel 6 years ago. The Great Canadian Peso, the Great American Greenback Peso, it will basically currencies become so severely devalued that people will be using it for toilet paper. And in about a year or two from now, you'll have signs outside of porta potties, outside of debt camps where people can't pay their debts. They go to a camp or a prison, and they're going to have signs outside. Please do not use currency to wipe your butt with and flush and plug our toilets. That's how it's going to get. And that's what you'll see it if they don't figure out a way to figure this out, because it's going to get ugly fast. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please share this video if you find it amusing at all or entertaining or whatnot. If you like my hat, just go ahead and share this video. Get this message out there. This is, again, something we will have to move forward into triumphantly and find a way to save, or I don't know. Comment below. You guys are the best. Comment below. Look forward to reading your comments. Mike Martins here. I have spoken.